All right, so get ready for a deep dive today
Okay.
into the career of José Mourinho.
Right?
You've sent over some really fascinating articles about him.
Yeah.
And honestly, even before reading these,
Mm-hmm.
the guy's always been a bit of an enigma to me.
Right.
I mean, brilliant manager, obviously,
Yes. Yes.
but also kind of notorious.
Absolutely.
So today,
Okay.
let's unpack what makes Mourinho tick.
Well, what I find fascinating about Mourinho is that he's not just successful.
Right.
He's successful on a level that few managers ever reach,
Yeah.
but that success
Mhm.
is tangled up with this constant debate,
Right.
this aura of drama that follows him everywhere.
It's always there.
To understand his career, you have to understand both of those sides.
Okay, so let's start with the success story.
Okay.
The rise to fame was insanely fast,
Mm-hmm.
taking Porto,
Mm-hmm.
a good team, but not a European powerhouse at the time,
Right.
and winning the Champions League in 2004.
I mean,
That's a statement win if I've ever seen one.
that 2004 Champions League was a total turning point.
Yeah.
It wasn't just that Porto won,
Yeah.
it was how they won.
Yeah.
Mourinho instilled this incredible tactical discipline,
Right.
a belief in his system that you could see on the pitch,
Totally.
and suddenly the entire football world was watching this.
Uh-huh.
At the time, relatively unknown Portuguese manager.
And then he arrives at Chelsea,
Yeah,
steps right into the most intense spotlight in the Premier League,
it's true.
and calls himself the special one.
Yeah.
I mean, what's behind that level of confidence?
It was pure, unadulterated statement of intent.
Wow.
Think about the context of English football at the time.
Okay.
Mourinho came in with this aura of,
Mhm.
I wouldn't say arrogance, but definitely supreme self-belief
Right.
that was totally different.
Mm.
He was good.
Yeah.
He knew he was good.
Uh-huh.
And he wanted everyone to know it, too.
I love that.
Yeah.
And he wasn't all talk.
No.
First Premier League title for Chelsea in 50 years.
Mhm.
Then he wins it again the following season.
Back to back.
He completely transformed that club.
That first Chelsea stint was a masterclass in what we'd come to know as the Mourinho method.
Okay.
He built a team that was incredibly tough to break down,
Yeah.
defensively solid,
Uh-huh.
lightning fast on
Yeah.
a counterattack.
So classic Mourinho.
And he turned players like Lampard, Jerry Drogba
Uh-huh.
into absolute superstars.
It's like this winning formula wasn't a one-time thing, though.
Right.
He goes on to win Serie A with Inter Milan.
Yeah.
Even achieves that legendary treble.
Oh, yeah.
Serie A,
Uh-huh.
Coppa Italia,
Yeah.
and the Champions League all in one season.
Unbelievable.
That's insane.
The Inter treble was a different kind of genius on display.
Okay.
Mourinho adapted his approach to the players he had,
Yeah.
built this incredible team spirit,
Uh-huh.
and tactically outmaneuvered some of the best managers in the world on the way to that treble.
Then it's off to Real Madrid, where he manages to break Barcelona's dominance,
I remember that.
winning La Liga with a record-breaking 100 points.
It's incredible.
That's not just winning.
No.
That's domination.
Complete domination.
How did he stay so successful across different leagues?
That's one of the most remarkable things about him.
Yeah.
Each league had different challenges,
Of course.
different pressures.
Uh-huh.
At Real Madrid, he had the weight of that club's expectations.
Right.
And he had to find a way to beat Pep Guardiola's Barcelona,
Arguably the best team in the world at that time.
arguably the best team ever.
And he did it.
He did it.
Okay, so we've established the guy's a serial winner.
Yeah.
But what exactly is the Mourinho method?
Right.
What defines his style as a manager?
You've already touched on some key elements.
Okay.
Tactical brilliance,
Mm-hmm.
building teams that are incredibly well organized defensively,
Right.
and this almost uncanny ability to get the absolute best out of his players.
I keep hearing these stories about his motivational tactics.
Oh, like he'll publicly criticize a player one day
Uh-huh.
and then shower them with praise the next.
Yeah.
Is that part of his strategy?
It's more than just mind game.
Okay.
He understands how to motivate different personalities,
Yeah.
how to create a sense of unity,
Right.
even if it means creating an us against the world mentality.
Interesting.
He'll position himself as the protector of his players,
Mm-hmm.
someone who will fight their battles for them.
Right.
And that kind of loyalty can be incredibly motivating.
But that same intensity can also lead to conflict. right?
Oh, absolutely.
We can't ignore the controversial side of Mourinho,
No.
the clashes with the media,
Hmm.
the fallouts with players,
Yeah.
those infamous confrontations with referees.
Absolutely. There's no denying that Mourinho's personality has shaped his career
Right.
in both positive and negative ways.
Yeah.
He's a master of using the media to his advantage,
Mm-hmm.
whether to deflect pressure from his players
Mm-hmm.
or to gain a psychological edge over his opponents.
Mm.
We've all seen those fiery press conferences,
Oh, yeah.
the sarcastic comments, the outright accusations.
Yeah.
It seems like controversy follows him everywhere.
It really does.
So is that all part of some calculated plan?
Right.
Is it all about mind games and manipulating the narrative?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it just who he is?
Right.
An intensely passionate,
Mm.
sometimes volatile character
Yeah.
who can't help but stir the pot.
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah,
Is it strategy or genuine personality?
Right.
And honestly, with Mourinho,
right.
it might be a bit of both.
I can see that.
But to really get into that,
Okay.
we need to look at the later stages of his career.
All right, let's do it.
Okay. That's where his time at Manchester United gets really interesting. Huge club, huge expectations, but it ended up being a bit of a mixed bag, wouldn't you say?
Totally. He won the Europa League and the League Cup in his first
Go ahead.
season, which isn't nothing. But yeah, I think most people expected him to bring the Premier League title back to Old Trafford, and that just never happened.
Trophies are one thing, but the style of play under Mourinho at United really drew criticism. It felt, well, some argued, it lacked that attacking flair that fans associate with Manchester United. And then there were those public clashes with players, most notably Paul Pogba, which didn't help.
Right. It was like the old Mourinho magic wasn't working the same way. Was it the wrong club for him at that point in his career? Or had the game itself moved on, making his tactics less effective?
It's probably a combination of factors. Manchester United was and still is a club in transition trying to find their footing after the Ferguson era, and the Premier League had become even more intense with teams like Manchester City and Liverpool playing this high-energy pressing style that was incredibly difficult to counter.
So after United, he ends up at Tottenham Hotspur, another club with a history of attacking football but without a major trophy for a while. Did he manage to break that trophy drought?
Not quite. His time at Spurs was pretty short, and while there were flashes of the classic Mourinho, especially the way he got Harry Kane and Son Heung-min firing on all cylinders.
He even had them top of the league for a bit.
Yeah.
Something Spurs fans hadn't seen in years. But then it all fell apart pretty quickly.
What's fascinating about both the United and Spurs chapters is that they raise a question. Are Mourinho's methods as effective in the modern game as they once were? Football evolves, expectations change, and the media pressure is relentless.
I guess that's the challenge for any manager with such a strong, defined style.
Yeah.
How do you adapt without losing what made you successful in the first place?
And that brings us to where Mourinho is now AS Roma in Italy. Passionate fans, but not the same financial firepower as some of his previous clubs. It's almost like he's gone back to his roots in a way.
He's already won a trophy with them, the Europa Conference League in 2022. Their first European trophy in over 60 years. And the Italian media seems a bit less intense.
It's a fascinating new chapter. He can still win, clearly. But is he adapting? Is he mellowing? Or is this just Mourinho 2.0 ready to prove himself all over again?
I have a feeling we haven't seen the last of his headline-grabbing moments, but maybe that's part of his legacy too. He keeps us all guessing.
It's what makes him so compelling to follow, even for those who aren't diehard fans. He's a constant source of debate, of strong opinions. Love him or hate him. José Mourinho forces us to confront what we think about success, about ambition, about the nature of the game itself.
Okay, so we've talked tactics, triumphs, controversies. But let's zoom out for a second. What's Mourinho's impact on football beyond just the trophies?
That's where it gets really interesting. Mourinho didn't just win. He changed the way people thought about winning. He brought this incredible focus on the psychological game, the mental battles that happen off the pitch, as much as on it.
You mean all those mind games we talked about? Getting under the skin of opponents, of referees, of the media.
Exactly. Mourinho understood that football isn't just about what happens on the pitch. It's about controlling the narrative, creating doubt in your opponent's minds, using every tool at your disposal to gain an advantage. And whether you admire his tactics or find them frustrating, there's no denying they were effective.
He also raised the bar in terms of professionalism and preparation. His teams were known for their meticulous attention to detail, their intense analysis of opponents, their willingness to adapt their game plan to exploit any weakness. It's almost like he ushered in this era of the supermanager, these larger-than-life figures who are as much CEOs as they are coaches.
Absolutely. He showed that a manager could be a global brand, a media personality, and a tactical mastermind all at the same time. And that's had a lasting impact on how top clubs approach hiring and managing their coaches.
So we come back to that question of legacy. Is Jose Mourinho defined by his trophies, by his personality, or by this broader impact he's had on the sport?
It's almost impossible to separate those things. The trophies are the concrete proof of his success. The personality is what makes him so captivating and so controversial. And the impact, well, that's what will determine his place in football history.
It's like he's this walking contradiction. A master strategist who thrives on chaos, a charismatic leader who often alienates those around him, a relentless winner who never seems fully satisfied.
And that's what makes him so fascinating. He's a constant reminder that success rarely comes in a neat and tidy package. It's often messy, complicated, and full of contradictions.
It's funny. When you look at his career as a whole, it seems like he's always one step ahead of the game.
Right.
But then there are times
Yeah.
when it feels like the game has caught up to him.
That's a great observation.
Yeah.
And I think it speaks to that constant tension in Mourinho's career, this push and pull
Okay.
between his unwavering belief in his methods
Right.
and the ever-changing landscape of football.
We've talked about his tactical genius.
Yeah,
But there's also something to be said for his ability to adapt.
absolutely.
I mean, he's won titles in Portugal, England, Italy,
Yeah,
Spain.
right.
That's not easy to do.
It speaks to a deep understanding of the game,
Okay.
of how to build teams that are successful in different contexts.
Right.
He might be known for his defensive solidity, but he's also shown the ability to adjust his approach
Okay.
based on the players he has
Uh-huh.
and the challenges he faces.
Like at Inter,
Yeah.
he had this incredibly disciplined,
Mhm.
almost unbreakable defensive unit.
Right.
But then at Real Madrid,
Mhm.
he embraced a more attacking style
Yeah.
to compete with Barcelona's tiki-taka dominance.
He had to.
All right.
And let's not forget his ability to get the best out of individual players.
Oh, yeah.
Think about the transformations of Didier Drogba at Chelsea,
Uh-huh.
Wesley Sneijder at Inter,
Right.
Cristiano Ronaldo at Real Madrid.
Yeah.
He has a knack for pushing players to reach their full potential,
Definitely.
even if it means pushing some buttons along the way.
I think that's part of what makes him such a polarizing figure.
Yeah.
You either love his intensity and his no-holds-barred approach,
Uh-huh.
or you find it abrasive and off-putting.
Yeah, there's no middle ground with Mourinho.
I think you're right.
He's not afraid to be the villain,
Right.
to challenge authority, to
Mhm.
speak his mind. Yeah, even if it ruffles some feathers.
It definitely does.
And that's what makes him so captivating to watch, even if you don't always agree with him.
So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I keep coming back to that initial question.
Okay.
What's Mourinho's true legacy?
Mhm.
Is it the trophies,
Right.
the mind games,
Yeah.
or something more intangible,
Okay.
like his impact on the way we think about the role of the manager in modern football?
I think it's all of those things
Yeah.
interwoven into this complex and fascinating tapestry.
Right.
He's a reminder that success is rarely straightforward,
Yeah.
that brilliance often comes with a healthy dose of controversy,
Yeah.
and that true greatness leaves a lasting mark on the game
Right.
long after the final whistle has blown.
Well said. And to our listener,
Yeah.
I hope this deep dive has given you a better understanding of the man behind the headlines,
Mm-hmm.
the tactical genius,
Mm-hmm.
the master motivator,
Yeah.
the ultimate provocateur that
Yeah.
is Jose Mourinho.
He's a manager who will continue to spark debate and inspire strong opinions for years to come.
For sure.
And ultimately, that's the sign of a true icon.
Wow.
Someone who forces us to confront our own beliefs about the beautiful game.
Well, thanks for joining us on this journey through the career of one of football's most enigmatic figures.
Absolutely.
Until next time, keep exploring,
Yeah.
keep questioning,
Mm-hmm.
and keep the conversation going.
Great.